What we're going to do is install decking with the Deckmaster Hidden Fastener system. I've built several of these decks, and they are considerably more work than the traditional method of fastening down deck boards, and you'll hate every minute of it while you're building it, but when you get done, it'll be real beautiful. So we'll talk a little bit about how much time it takes and what kind of equipment you might need for this. When the box arrives, it'll be heavier, about 50 pounds, and it includes 100 of the brackets and 2 boxes of screws. It has a 1-inch screws for fastening the pieces to the joists, and it has 1 1/4-inch screws to fasten the decking down to the brackets. And there are 2,500 screws there, which is about the right amount. So each one of these pieces, these are the brackets, they fasten down 10 screws here and approximately 10 screws up into the decking. So you'll be fastening almost 2,500 screws per box. It takes 2 boxes for 500 square feet, which is what I'm putting in. So I'll be fastening down 5,000 screws. I roughly estimate it takes me to fasten down the brackets and the joists about 40 hours longer than a traditional deck. So if you're going to build a 500 square foot deck, this is going to take you approximately 40 man hours longer than the traditional screw it down from the top method. We'll talk a little bit about equipment. This is what I use to screw in the screws, but any small impactor, you want an impactor, will work. I have done it with a traditional screwdriver. This is 5 pounds. This one's 2 pounds. So 5,000 screws times 3 pounds of difference is almost 15,000 pounds of difference of weightlifting on your wrists, and believe me, by the end of 40 hours it'll make a big difference. In their box they recommend a Milwaukee tight quarters screw, but basically you want to get an impactor, not a drill driver, but an impactor, and find the lightest one you can and get some extra batteries. This is an unbelievable savior on the amount of stress on your wrist. I use a small dog dish to put all the screws in. Don't roll off the plank so much. And it comes with a couple of square bit drivers that hold it on there fine. And then you just take each bracket, put 1 screw in one end, 1 screw in the other end, and then every other hole I usually try to buy the decking 2 and preferably 3 months before I'm going to use it. And I stack it up in the shade with spacers like this and let it dry. Most lumberyards stock grade 2 decking, but they'll order Premier or #1 grade, which is, if you're going to go to all the work of the hidden fasteners, you might as well have the almost knot free decking. At the joist where you have to make a seam, you have to put 2 pieces, 1 on each side. And I always pre-drill the ends. That's another fun thing. It has to be 4 holes in each end, so it takes up a few extra screws there too. Here's what the brackets look like from underneath. There's a screw into every other hole on the joist except right there at the place where the deck boards have a joint, and I put in 4 screws on each side. The brackets rotate every other side of the joist. Here's the ramp going up beside the house. Only places where there are exposed screws are on the outside of the 4x4 posts. Where I wasn't able to get a bracket in, I drilled a 3/8" countersink and then put screws in there and then put a wood plug on top. So here's the finished deck. You can see no exposed screws. Haven't put the railing up yet. So I have about a 500 square foot deck here. It took somewhere around 50 extra hours to screw it in from below, and right at 7,000 total screws. It's a bit of a time commitment, but you'll never have a decking company that makes wood decking say their decking looks and smells as good as plastic. So even though it takes you more time, the cost probably comes out the same as a composition deck. And then you have the beauty of wood and a deck that isn't so hot when you walk on it in the summer and doesn't smell like plastic.